If you've ever bought wire for a project and then find out it is too floppy or basically a coat hanger, this video is for you. This isn't my usual type of video, but I've been getting a lot of questions in the comment section about what gauges to use and crafting wires, so I thought this might be a topic of interest. I am breaking down the 4 most common types of wires to use, what gauge to use for what project, and just some quick essential tools to get you started. We're going to be dividing this into 2 categories. One is jewelry making, and the other is home decor wire art projects. So if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button and let's dive in.
Hey friends, welcome to Twirlcraft Studio, where we turn everyday things into, oh wow, did you make that? Grab your crafting supplies, maybe a snack, and let's make something beautiful together.
Are you team jewelry or are you team home decor? Let me know in the comments below. I thought we would start off by just giving you an overview of some basic tools you'll need. These are the bare minimums to start your projects. So we're going to start with jewelry making first. You'll need 3 different types of pliers. You'll need the round pliers, some cutters, and some flat pliers. Okay? And then for hammering, you'll need a steel plate and a small hammer. If you are going to do any types of rings, you'll need a ring sizer. That is the bare minimum for doing, just to get you started, doing wirework jewelry. And moving on, if you're wanting to do bigger wire craft projects, you'll need pretty much the same thing. I like to use this for many different options. A steel plate is good for flattening the wire, and a thicker hammer. You can go with a bigger hammer than this. This is just my son's toolbox hammer. And then you'll also need flat pliers. I like to have them with some sort of teeth in there. And round pliers. Now I lost my big round pliers and I haven't been able to get a replacement yet, but these will work, but mostly you use bigger pliers and then bigger wire cutters. In my videos you'll probably see me making jewelry cutting with these because these are just wonderful. They cut everything. So those are the tools that you'll need to get started. There are a lot of other tools, but in my opinion, these are the bare minimums just to get started. Okay, let's start with the home decor, the bigger wire projects. For those projects, there are 2 main wires, and today we're going to be talking mostly about my favorite, which is the copper wire. But I will mention that you can use aluminum wire because aluminum wire is nice and soft. It's easier to mold. I've seen a lot of people use aluminum wire. People can use them for anything, but I've seen them if they do like sculptures where they have paper mache around them. It's just to add structure, and that is what the aluminum wire. But today we're going to be talking about copper wire and bigger projects. So I went to the hardware store and I got a gauge. I got 1 gauge of each type of copper wire. Okay, why I like copper wire. Copper wire is easy to bend, it's flexible, it's more or less affordable. Hopefully that doesn't change. It's got a beautiful color even when it's tarnished. Basically, to understand the different gauges, and what gauges are the thickness of the wire. It's the higher the number, the thinner the wire. So the lower the number, the thicker the wire. For these home decor projects, I use between, if you can find an 8 gauge, 8 is really good. So 8, 10, and 12. For the bigger projects like lamps or mini chandeliers, candle holders, just wire art, as in flowers, anything that needs more stability and structure, I would use 8, 10, and 12 gauge wires. And to buy these wires, you go to the hardware store and you go to the electrical section. A big tip, Don't just ask for 8-gauge wire, because 8-gauge wire can mean two things. You have to ask for 8-gauge wire that is one solid 8-gauge wire. And the reason I'm saying this is because they sell 8-gauge wire that are made up of micro wires of probably, I don't know, I haven't counted, maybe 24, 26 gauge, and they're all together to make an 8-gauge. So when you're asking for wire, for example, I found this wire. This wire has 3 8-gauge wires, solid 8-gauge wires, and then a 10-gauge grounding wire. So this is perfect if you're going to do those thick projects. It takes extra work, I get that, but what you have to do is do an X-Acto knife and take off the plastic. And now moving on to jewelry making and the 4 common wires used in jewelry making. Of course, I'm not going to include gold in this because jewelry making with gold is normally soldering, not wire work, because it is very expensive and it's more high-end. So the 4 wires I'm going to talk about today are brass, copper, sterling silver, and stainless steel. I'm going to outline the pros and cons of each. In my past, I started out using sterling silver. And the pros of sterling silver is it's a little more high-end. It's very easy to mold. It's a softer metal. It's hypoallergenic. And it's a professional jewelry standard. These pieces here, I believe, are still my silversmithing days. The cons are it's more expensive than the other wires, especially now. It tarnishes over time unless you get, I don't know what quality of wire, but it is out of my price range. It's a softer wire and can bend out of shape, and it needs constant polishing. Next, I'll briefly just talk about brass. I've never used brass, and that's only because I don't love the color of brass. For people who like gold-colored jewelry, they do like brass jewelry. Now, the pros with brass, that it's gold-like in appearance. It's more durable than copper. It's an affordable alternative to gold, though I don't think it looks too much like gold. It holds structure a little more than copper does. The cons are that it tarnishes and dulls. It can irritate sensitive skin. It's harder to bend than copper. And I've heard that the color varies between suppliers, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, but like I said, I don't use brass. I've never used brass, but a lot of artisans do. Next up is the copper. Of course, you guys know that I love working with copper. Copper wire is great for beginners. It is easy to bend. It's affordable. I love the color of copper. I love the color of copper when it's shiny, and I love the color of copper when it has tarnished a bit. It also has conductive properties. Like I said before, many people buy copper bracelets for arthritis. The cons of copper wire are that it does tarnish, but again, I love the tarnished look. It can turn people's skin color green. I find that when you sweat a lot, there might be a little green rim, but mostly through the winter, it does not turn my skin green. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about today is stainless steel. Now, stainless steel has a lot of the benefits of sterling silver, except it doesn't tarnish. So even though it's a little bit of a different color than sterling silver, it stays shiny forever. It lasts. It does not tarnish easily. It's hypoallergenic. It's low maintenance. But the cons of stainless steel is that it's harder to bend. But if you buy stainless steel online, you can look, I think sometimes they say a softer stainless steel. For example, this is an 18 gauge, and this jewelry is, I believe, an 18 gauge as well. And this jewelry was harder to bend because it was a harder wire. When I made these pieces, I didn't have the option to do a soft stainless steel, but if you buy on Amazon right now, you can actually select a softer version of stainless steel. It's not as malleable and as soft as copper can be, but these work really well. If you're going to make stuff like hairpins or armbands, I recommend going with a 10 gauge copper wire just for the stability. But if you're going to make stuff like copper pendants, you can go with the 10 if you want it really thick, but I would probably recommend a 12 to 14 for the pendants. If you're going to make rings for your hand, I would definitely recommend probably a 14 to 16 gauge wire. For earring hooks, I'd probably recommend an 18 to 20. I would not put copper in your ears. The only thing I would put in my ears would be stainless steel or sterling silver or gold, of course. If you want to do beadwork and wire, like wrapping wire around a thicker wire, I would go for a 22, maybe a 24 gauge to be able to get the bead through the wire and wrap it around. If all the gauges are just too overwhelming for you and you only wanted to buy 2 different types of wires for making jewelry, I would probably recommend the 16 gauge and the 20 gauge. That will get you started. You have a lot of jewelry making projects you can do with 16 and 20 gauge wires. And as you continue making jewelry, you'll start to think, okay, maybe I'll need a thinner wire or a thicker wire, but don't complicate it. Just start with 2 wires and then work from there. I hope this video is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or comments. If you use different gauges for different wire work projects, I would love to hear them in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.